Welcome to another edition of the DHN Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Wade Teamer. A huge shout out to our early donors. We are now about 40% of the way to our goal of 2,500. And I'll admit to you guys, I was in disbelief just a little bit. Okay, I'm an only child, so it's always been difficult for me to accept acceptance. Okay, I went into this situation, of course, optimistic, but I'm a realist at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So I want to thank you guys not only for your donations, but proving me wrong in this particular case. I see that y'all really rock with me. So in exchange, I'm going to continue to keep kicking out this value, especially when it comes to XLM, guys. Do you remember VersaBank? Yeah, first heard of them back in 2021 when they introduced the first ever, to my knowledge, Canadian dollar-backed stablecoin to the blockchain space. They worked with a company called StableCorp, and they made this happen using the XLM network. Now, I'm going to dig into the connections to that particular story in just a minute. But let me give you what they're looking to do now, and you're going to notice the similarities. So, reported by CoinDesk, VersaBank is testing a tokenized deposit called USDVB, which represents $1 held on deposit at VersaBank US. So they've expanded into the United States in the last 4 years. The pilot will simulate transactions using Stellar, Ethereum, and Algorand. So shout out to Algorand. Good to still see them in the headlines. This is aiming to provide an alternative to stablecoins. You see, unlike stablecoins, according to the bank, their token will be federally insured and can earn yield. Now, they're looking to finish testing by the end of the year and have a commercial rollout sometime in 2026, pending approval from the OCC. So it's a similar situation that Paxos is going through, where they're looking to get that banking charter from the OCC. So we'll definitely look forward to that in 2026. But let's unpack this a little bit more so you understand the connection to the VCAD back in 2021. Now, as we mentioned, VersaBank based in Canada, and they launched their US subsidiary sometime in 2023. Now, what they're trialing, the name of the token is Digital Deposit Receipts. And again, they represent real US dollars held by VersaBank USA. Now, these tokens are going to be managed by Versa through their digital vault technology, which currently is only integrated into 3 networks: Stellar, Ethereum, and Algorand. Now, I wasn't able to find the developer documentation for the vault. Versa is a publicly traded company, so it would make sense that they are keeping the more intricate details of their technology under wraps. But it's good to see them publicly promoting the chains that they use. This is coming from VersaBank's press release itself. So that's very good to see. Now, these tokenized deposits, they will act like certificates of deposit. And in theory, a tokenized deposit could be subject to the same banking rules as cash. So I know at my credit union, through the app, we can purchase CDs. But if I want to redeem those CDs, I either have to call and talk to someone on the phone or go into a physical location. Now that blockchain is getting involved, all of that process, all of that stuff on the back end, when you go to redeem your CD, it'll be automated through smart contracts. So this is fascinating. And when you look at the 3 networks that they've chosen to make this happen, Ethereum is the leader in smart contract development. Algorand, it was 2022 when they flipped Algorand over and introduced the state channels. Those state channels on Algorand amplified the smart contract development. I'm very surprised we have not seen a lot more development on Algorand since then, but this is nevertheless a great sign. And then if we're talking smart contracts in relation to Stellar, we know Sorabon just launched, and Stellar spent about a year and a half, ladies and gentlemen, developing the infrastructure, the capabilities, and everything that came along with Sorabon. So this is also one of the first times we're getting a chance to see Sorabon really flex its muscle. Now, the tokenized deposit situation, have my speaker on in the background, excuse me, it's not necessarily new. I recall early 2024, Citibank making some headlines by introducing their Citi token services. And it was alongside a trade finance blockchain related platform, as well as something related to RWAs. Citi kicked the door open. JP Morgan followed with their Connexus blockchain. This was actually a couple months ago. Back in March, they teamed up with Coinbase to make the same thing happen on the Base chain. Very powerful. And then more recently, you have FIS, who is exploring tokenized deposits with none other than Circle USDC. And then this one was last month. Universal Digital Payments Network. OG listeners and watchers of this channel, y'all know about the UDPN. Well, they've popped back up, ladies and gentlemen, and this time they've teamed up with Aptos. Yeah, Aptos, the blockchain that uses the Move programming language, the same programming language that would have been in Facebook's blockchain a few years ago, had the U.S. government not snubbed him out. They snubbed him out, okay? They wiped him out. That was crazy. But in hindsight, looking at how those same actors in the U.S. government have completely shifted their tone, I knew that tech wasn't going nowhere. I knew the tech wasn't going nowhere. But that just goes to show you that tokenized deposits, the market is recognizing them as the next level to the stable coin, ladies and gentlemen. Because again, it all goes back to the yield bearing element to it. With the Genius Stablecoin Act, we didn't necessarily get clarity on yield bearing stablecoins. That, to my knowledge, has been wrapped up into the Clarity Act, which we won't hear another word about until the end of September, maybe even November. So it's a very interesting arrangement here. Very interesting arrangement. Now, let me dig deeper once again and remind you about the history between Stellar and VersaBank. Now, like I mentioned, 2021, VersaBank teamed up with Stable Corp to issue what was then called the VCAD. But their planning for VCAD was always to turn it into a digital deposit receipt. I had to go back to that original press release, the date September 23rd, 2021, and it clearly states VersaBank innovated upon the stablecoin concept by having VersaBank directly issue VCAD as encrypted digital deposit receipts. So they originally did this first on XLM. Ethereum and Algorand were added to the party. We don't get to see that often. Usually, Ethereum dominates the narrative, especially when it comes to advanced financial tools. You can now safely say that Stellar, its software, has been embedded into corporate finance. And if tokenized deposits, certificates of deposits catch on, and people realize the underlying software belongs to Stellar, what do you think is going to happen? Now, continuing, they state these DDRs are treated the same as a bank deposit receipt or bank issued guaranteed investment certificate or deposit receipt. Each VCAD unit is encrypted and represents a $1 deposit with VersaBank. Now, when I read the headline and I saw Versa's name, I said, that's impressive. What's impressive? The fact that they essentially went ghost ever since this happened. 4 whole years, ladies and gentlemen, we heard nothing. We heard nothing. It wasn't as if the company didn't exist. No, that wasn't the case. They just didn't pay this market any attention, and they kept grinding. They just kept grinding, ladies and gentlemen. So that's impressive. That's very impressive. And again, they intend to complete the pilot by the end of this year, with a commercial launch scheduled for 2026, again pending approval from the OCC. With Versa's track record, their expansion into the United States, and the fact that they're using trusted public networks like Ethereum and Stellar, I think they're going to get that approval. So when they do, then they can begin to promote their digital vault technology, which primarily makes use of Stellar, Ethereum, and Algorand. That's going to be a good look for all three of those networks. Now, I got a little bonus for you. This is a couple stories I wanted to touch on very briefly. XLM has been integrated into Telegram's wallet. Okay, 100 million users. About 35 million of them active as of numbers from July of this year. But simply, Telegram users can now send and receive XLM within the app. So that's very interesting. I've been using Telegram ever since I got into space. So going on 5 years now. The wallet was introduced fairly recently, and I'll admit to you, it wasn't until about 8:15 this morning that I downloaded the Telegram wallet. I was interested. I'll tell you this. Stellar will be the most recognized crypto on that wallet outside of Toncoin and Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Athena USD, which they're giving 20% APY on if you store it within the app. Mind blowing. But it's going to be one of the most recognized cryptos on the platform. Because outside of those main ones, it's just a bunch of meme tokens. Okay? And of course, that's no fault against them. Meme tokens, that is their utility. Liquidity. So the thing that really stood out to me is when I looked at the user base for the Telegram wallet. Their strongest concentration is in Asia and Russia. So that immediately, to me, looked like another remittance play for XLM. And then if we go even deeper and remind ourselves of the work that XLM is doing in that particular area, in a particular country, where Telegram is particularly popular, this could see a lot more adoption of XLM, especially for 2026, right? Because you have to compound these things. The Versa Bank launch, now Telegram users all around the world can send and receive XLM. And something else that is beginning to weigh on me the more I study and meditate is just how bad it is for some of these other countries whose dollar is essentially worthless. That is truly where these digital assets are finding their footing, is in countries like Venezuela and Argentina, whose currency is just all over the place. But they're leveraging stable coins and tokenized versions of US dollars to replace that. We're entering a very powerful time. Okay, a lot of people will say crypto is a scam. And I'll tell you, you're right. But blockchain isn't. The software that is being developed under your nose that will support your financial future, whether you know about it or not, that ain't a scam. Please tell the village, all right? And then lastly, Tangent. Accepting XLM-based assets, Velo, Stronghold, things like that. That's big. That is a very good sign of adoption for XLM. It'll be a slow roll. But if other hardware wallets like Tangem, SafePal, Ledger, Decent, if they begin to accept Stellar-based assets, all of them funny named assets on Lobster Wallet, boy, they about to find a nice home, ain't they? They gonna find them a nice home. So with that, that's all I got for this one. Again, guys, I want to thank our early donors. The donation window is still open if you would like to contribute. Again, we're looking to expand production outside of the bedroom here. All right, I want to continue to kick out great crypto content, great financial education content for the people that need it. Okay. And like I said, a million thank yous to our early donors, because without y'all, this literally would not be happening. So with that, again, for more crypto intel, check out digitalhustlenetwork.net. Y'all know what time it is. If the money is digital, so is the hustle.